I didn't know they did that. How did I not know that? Generic intro into that goes Moo. Here back with another Game Theory Minecraft video. Today we're doing Minecraft has a zombie virus infecting the... who knows what it's infecting, probably all of Minecraft or something. The last video I did was about the Warden, when they first revealed the Warden before ancient cities were even announced or anything. And that video actually had Dream, and it was my first time ever even hearing Dream's voice. You can check out my reaction to that video. I'll leave it right up there. Also link down below in the description. And I think I'll make a playlist at some point, or maybe I should just make a Game Theory playlist. Or should I have a FNAF Game Theory playlist and then a Minecraft Game Theory playlist separate? I might just do that instead. I'm not really sure. I do read outcomes, leave them down below. Apparently, pretty much everything in the last video was proven to be mostly wrong because like they didn't know ancient cities. They thought the Warden was going to be in the strongholds, which kind of does make sense. It was a good theory based off the information. I didn't know about the Warden until it was pretty much added to Bedrock, which is what I play on, what I stream on. I'm in the process of restoring the ancient city, and wow, I'm removing the skulk right now off the floor. I got to do the ceilings, and I got to do the walls and everything. I got to rebuild the structures and buildings and all that. It's taking so much work, but the end result's going to be so awesome. Doing all in survival, and I'm streaming every moment of it. So definitely stop by a stream. I stream Minecraft on Mondays from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also join my Discord server to get notified every single time I go live. And also shout out to the patrons because they get all the videos a day early. So I couldn't do this if it was not for them. $3 a month. Like to be right down here. But let's go ahead and jump into Minecraft has a zombie virus infecting. I don't know why I said huge. All right. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Never. I played Resident Evil 2, my first one.
Every game
haven't played
being a zombie
any of these.
Survival
Nope.
game. I get it. The Walking Dead was a popular franchise.
Nope, never played it
2010 called. They
or
want
watched
their
it.
genre back. Give me something new, you know?
Minecraft has zombies.
Hey, you want to go gather some resources?
Sure.
Who's that? Whose voice is that?
They ask you how you are, you're fine. You're not really fine. You just can't get into it because...
Oh, well. Yeah, no. Resident Evil 2 is my first time ever doing anything with Resident Evil, and it was terrifying.
Where we're all blockheads. Before we begin today's episode, a quick reminder that this Tuesday, December 1st, is the big show that I have been hyping up for the last month. We are doing our big $1 million challenge to benefit Children's Research Hospital and their mission of ending childhood cancer.
Like
it is a
like
stream that
that
has been a year in the making. A stream that'll feature favorite creators of yours like Mr. Beast, Marquez Brownlee, Jaden Animations, Pokimane, and Minecraft speedrunner Dream. Tune in for a massive all-day show featuring video games, really embarrassing challenges, a lot of fun surprises along the way. Just something that you are not going to want to miss. It is a new show every hour on the hour. It is very elaborate, but man, is it going to be fun. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about some of the changes that were added with the Nether update earlier this year, and then using that information to go back and examine one of the oldest parts of Minecraft, the zombie. Zombies are such an omnipresent part of pop culture nowadays that it's easy to overlook them, which is kind of ironic.
I mean, out of all the mobs,
what made them explode onto the scene in the first place was how horrific they were. And now they're mundane again, such as the circle of life, or
scary,
the
boring
circle of undead. It's a circle of undead. And of course, the zombie jockeys are just always terrifying. Those things will mess you up. Anyway, in all of my exploration of Minecraft lore up to this point, I've tended to skip over them for exactly that reason. They're just kind of there.
Yeah, exactly. They're not a threat.
In a world full of fire-breathing dragons, three-headed withers, exploding moss monsters, and teleporting Slenderman, there's just so many other cooler things to talk about.
And then there's skeletons that are kind of
very
a threat, or just annoying.
But you know what? That was dumb of me. Short-sighted. Because they are the bedrock upon which Minecraft is built. In a very literal sense. These guys have been a part of the game since the beginning.
Were they really the first?
0.2.0. So if anything has an importance to the lore, it's probably them. And you know what? They do. With some of the updates made to the Nether, I believe we now have some very interesting leads as to what zombies are and how they play into the overall narrative
how this theory is going to age.
Today we're talking about how the zombies and other zombified mobs might just be the most important clues for discovering what may have pushed an ancient race of builders to flee the overworld and live in the end. One of the things that sent me down this rabbit hole was reading Minecraft the Island, an official Minecraft novel. Yes,
never heard of it. That cover goes hard.
I've now moved
that
on
cover
to
is
Minecraft
awesome.
novels. Yeah, I'll get to you guys too.
I know nothing about
anyway,
those.
The book was
People want me to do the
compelling
bending
read.
ink
I've expected this to be
theories,
some lazy
knowing
video
nothing about
tie-in
it.
novel, but it's so much more than that. For one thing, it's written by Max Brooks, who you
World
might
War Z,
know
it
as
said
the
on the
author
cover.
of World War Z, one of the best zombie
said that on the
apocalypse
cover.
stories in recent memory.
I saw the movie.
It certainly was enough to get my attention, and once I started reading, it became clear to me that he was chosen to emphasize the horror of Minecraft's world. Take this excerpt. I stopped and backed away. Its clothes were ragged and filthy. Its flesh was a mottled green. Its eyes, if you could call them eyes, were nothing but lifeless black points
like
in a
mushrooms.
flat, unmoving face. Memories flooded my mind. Images of creatures I'd known from stories but had never seen in person. And here it was.
I guess the first time seeing a
without
zombie would be
outstretched
kind of
arms.
scary.
Numb with fear, I sprinted for the hill. I wasn't thinking, wasn't planning. Terror drove my every
I wonder if
step.
somebody actually,
This is
like,
a Minecraft
did an audiobook
book.
for it, but,
what?
like,
oh, and
turned
by
into a
the way,
movie.
the audiobook is narrated by Jack Black. So, you know, imagine that terrifying passage, but instead of being read by professional YouTuber MatPat, it's being read by professional YouTuber Jablinski Games.
Five Nights at Freddy's. That's where I wanna be.
Professional FNAF YouTuber Jablinski Games. So let's begin with what we know about Minecraft zombies. For one thing, they only seem to spawn in the overworld. There are some reports of them spawning in the Nether, but those are extremely few and can never really be replicated. It's thought to be either a bug or a remnant from some mods. But if they are indeed limited to the overworld, along with their variants like the Husk and the Drowned, that prompts the most obvious question of why? Why do they only exist in the overworld?
Maybe they're just
one explanation I've seen tossed
enemy.
around online would be that the zombies are just zombified
But they
villagers,
have a model for
and
that.
as such, you'll only find them in places where you find other villagers, aka the overworld. But the fact that zombie villager exists as a separate mob type with its own look kinda throws that theory under the bus. Why do zombie villagers look like villagers and normal zombies look just like us? These zombies seem to be the zombified remains of builders like Steve, and yet, like the zombie villagers, these OG zombies or vanilla zombies, tasty zombies, are only found in the overworld. If zombies are truly the remains of dead players or a race of ancient builders from the past or whatever, why wouldn't you find zombies anywhere that Steve-like builders are able to go, like the Nether and the End? It's suspicious. Well, I think the answer to this question lies in the behavior of another mob, the zombified piglin. We actually talked about
them being like a fungus
previously on the channel back before the 1.16 Nether update, and since then there have been some noteworthy new changes with this particular
I originally
mob.
thought I'd
Back
get
when I did my first video on them, there was
Nether.
really no explanation for what could have created humanoid zombie pigs. The only thing that we had to go on was that they spawned when lightning struck near a pig, and since then, as the Mojang team has further developed the piglin mob, it appears as though Minecraft wants that feature removed. Quote from lead creative designer Jeb on Twitter, @Jeb, will pigs struck by lightning become zombified piglin or regular piglin? Jeb's reply, we will likely remove that feature because it'll work differently. This tells me that even though, as I write this, lightning near a pig still spawns a zombified piglin, it's more a thing that's been grandfathered in as an Easter egg to OG players, but no longer represents the new lore that they have in mind for this particular mob type.
They didn't remove it. That's still a thing, right?
Does reflect how piglins, not pigs, canonically become zombified piglins. Visiting the overworld. I'm serious. If you take a piglin out to the overworld or the End, after 15 seconds, they turn into a zombified piglin, just as a result of standing in the overworld and breathing. And I mean that literally. It seems like the only plausible explanation for what could be happening here, that the piglins, upon traveling to the overworld, begin breathing in something that just magically turns them from a perfectly well-functioning living creature into a flesh-starved zombie. It's bizarre. Something about being in the overworld turns piglins into zombies. As I see it, the only explanation for this is some sort of airborne zombie virus. Now, that might seem crazy at first. After all, we and the villagers are all able to run around in the overworld all day,
and zombie
breathing in
villagers
the same
are a
air
thing
without turning into zombies. So what gives? Well, that question is best answered by turning to some very real and some very tragic history.
Why is that book
As you might have
familiar?
learned in your history class, when European colonists came to America and started interacting with the native population, it didn't
brought a
go
lot of
well
diseases.
for the indigenous Americans. In fact, it's estimated that over 90% of indigenous Americans were killed in in the decades that followed.
Yeah.
It's just horrific. But why I bring this up
Which is also the reason why there's
how
actually,
they
like,
died. Because
tribes
while the
and stuff
Europeans that settled in
that are
America certainly
completely
did
untouched.
kill plenty of indigenous Americans in warfare,
And that's why you
most
can't
were
visit them.
killed by diseases such as smallpox, measles, and influenza. Diseases that were common in Europe, but completely new to the indigenous population of the New World. In many cases, they weren't even getting these diseases from people who were displaying symptoms of the sickness. The European explorers were asymptomatic carriers of the diseases, a concept that, in 2020, a lot of us have become all too familiar with. These were all diseases that Europeans had been dealing with for generations, and with each passing generation, the people who managed to survive dying from some terrible epidemic passed on their antibodies and immunities to their descendants. With each generation, Europeans gained stronger and stronger immune systems, which meant that formerly devastating diseases were no longer quite so deadly. So when the Europeans brought these diseases to the New World, exposing a population whose ancestors had no opportunity to build up those same immunities, the results were devastating. But there's a part of the story that might strike some people as a gaping hole. Why weren't the Europeans having the same problem? They too were in a new land encountering new people. Why weren't the colonists dying of the American diseases? Well, the answer is cities. Europeans lived in densely packed cities, which were breeding grounds for infection. Another thing that we've seen pretty darn clearly in 2020. I don't know if you've heard about this one. Looks like a lot of people are still missing the memo, but big gatherings of people all packed together in a tight space.
Typically why I avoid those as a germaphobe myself.
Go figure. Social distancing starts to get a whole lot harder when you're all packed together like sardines. And all of that gets compounded far worse when you don't have modern conveniences like plumbing and clean water. If you want an indication of how big a problem water contamination was during this time, it took until 1535 to finally prohibit people from dumping their excrement into the River Thames of London. Yeah, they had to pass a law outlawing you from dumping your poop into the water that ran through its most populous city. Reports from the time say that the water ran black. Really makes you want to reconsider that Riverview property. All of these factors combined to make European cities a breeding ground for all kinds of horrible diseases. North America, meanwhile, with its lack of densely populated cities, stood in stark contrast, and hence the indigenous people of North America had no plagues. All of that is a fascinating and frankly
I guess you would just have like tribes that would get wiped out.
What relevance does it have in Minecraft?
Maybe.
Well, understanding the history of diseases and plagues in the real world, it becomes a lot easier for us to understand how this might happen in the fictional world of Minecraft. Let's just assume for a minute that there is a zombie plague floating around in the air of Minecraft's overworld and end. We don't know how it would have started or why. Maybe it was the result of experiments trying to resurrect the dead like we've talked about in a previous theory. Maybe it was somehow tied to the appearance of the Wither. Who knows? But let's just say that it happened.
Not a clue.
Well, in those early days, it would be
a little bit to
those who managed to avoid
here.
being turned into zombies would still have to deal with the menace of being attacked by the undead. It could very well be that the zombie plague was responsible for wiping out the overworld's population. The reason that the overworld is filled with so many abandoned structures, like the desert pyramids, the jungle pyramids.
Yeah,
who knows?
why
Some of
don't the pyramids have like wither
civilization may have fled to the end to try and escape the plague. Like I've been guessing for the better part of the last
feel like
year.
there was like a war or something. That's where the wither
natural
came from.
selection, the people in the overworld developed stronger immune systems that were resistant to the airborne plague. The villagers of today are the beneficiaries of those many generations of inherited immunity. They only turn when they're bitten, which makes sense. One of the most important defense mechanisms that we have against infection is our skin, and a bite bypasses that to inject the zombie virus directly into the bloodstream, delivering a viral load high enough to transform some villagers. And for as overthinking and overreaching as that statement might seem, design details of the game seem to support the theory. Some villagers will be zombified when attacked by zombies, while some others appear to be fully immune. 50% of villagers will simply lose health when attacked by zombies and eventually die without ever being turned, which tells us that some are immune or more resistant to the zombie curse. Weird, right? It's an awfully suspicious detail. Why, though, wouldn't a zombie virus exist in the Nether when it's both in the end and the overworld? My guess? Temperature. Warmer climates tend to be better at fending off pathogens, and likewise, when it's colder, viruses are more likely to be spread. That's why you're more likely to get a cold in the winter, the flu in the winter, and why everyone was talking about the second spike of COVID happening during the fall and winter months. One of the reasons your body heats up and develops a fever when you're sick is that certain infections have a harder time surviving at higher temperatures. And what can be hotter than HE hockey sticks itself? The temperature down in the Nether is high enough to effectively sterilize
I guess that's why you wash your hands
Nothing
in
says
hot water instead of
quite
cold
like
water.
cool pools of lava. This, in turn, would keep the Nether clear of any zombie viruses, producing a civilization of piglins whose immune systems never encountered the plague, until, of course, they're brought into the overworld. So, there you have it, friends. The invisible zombie virus of the Minecraft overworld. For as ridiculous as it sounds, the science of it actually fits a surprising amount of in-game details and behaviors.
Does this add up?
Steve and Alex spend less resources building swords and axes and more time building face masks. After all, it's up to us to protect the immunocompromised hoglins. But
I mean, they can just walk into the overworld through the portal uninvited.
Thanks for watching. And one final reminder here that Game Theory merch is available right now, right in time for the holidays, including my signature red vegan leather jacket built from the ground up by me, and also an incredibly soft Game Theory blanket, along with a puzzle that you can do while you're snuggled in it. Supplies are running out right now very fast, so please make sure you grab those before they're gone. We even have some Black Friday deals going, so, you know, take advantage of those. And I'll see you all this Tuesday, December 1st for the massive
$100 million challenge,
and then after that on Saturday for, you know, our usual episode of Game Theory.
All right. Very interesting theory. The next one's going to be the secret desert origin of creepers. Then you also have the soul trap. I don't know when we're going to get to the ancient cities. We have the Forgotten War. Maybe I skipped ahead a little bit. I've been theorizing that maybe there was a war, and that's why the Wither was created, and that's why you had people going to the Nether, and you had people going to the End. There was a war, got out of hand, they had to escape. I feel like maybe they gave life to things, maybe they cooked up the Wither, and then they had to run from the Wither. I don't know. I'm restoring Ancient City. I'm loving streaming on Monday with Minecraft. Restoring Ancient City is awesome. Every time I make a little bit of progress, I'm like, wow, this looks incredible. I can't wait for the entire thing. It's a massive ancient city. I've yet to see anybody else. Like, if I Google restored ancient city Minecraft, I don't see any images on Google of them being restored. I'm doing it in survival, and I'm streaming it. So that's going to be awesome. I really look forward to the next one. I hope to see you there. Hope you're subscribed to future videos. But until the next one, take care, and cue the music.
We were playing